This morning we're going to get started on building the assembly for the clamp. I just went through several student files and randomly selected a few parts, and as I was doing that I've got a different setup of different drawings or formats of creating or saving the file. So I want to make sure that you go back and change your names before you get started into this because this is going to make a difference when you start building your assembly and building your parts list later on. So you were instructed in class and also on Google Classroom what specific names for each part. So look at Google Classroom and take a look and put those numbers before each one of the parts. So for example, cross brace here, whoever did that one, we want to make sure that that cross brace is going to be 14.1-4. So I'm going to right click on this, rename it 14.1-4, and that's the cross brace. That one is named correctly. This one, partial, it's in there, so let's just rename this one. Let's get some extra information. And we want this to, right now you may not realize what's going to happen, but in just a minute when we start to build the assembly and do our parts list, these numbers are going to pop back up, and we want to make sure they're all in the same format. If not, you're going to have to go back and change them all. So I've got 14, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to click on this little button down here. This little icon right here will change it to a pictorial view so we can take a look at each one of the parts. So I've got that, and I'm also missing, I got to bring over my block. I'll bring in my, let me go back to where I had that. So let's, I'm going to go into my file and the clamp, and let's just take a look here. I want to make sure I have this block here. So I'm going to copy that and put that over here. So we've got those files right there, and that's what we want or what we need. Now we need to make opposite hands of both of these parts. So real quickly I'm going to give a review on that. So you're going to have two files. You're going to have the 14.11-1 regular, and then you're going to do another one that's opposite hands. So for more detail, just go back to that video and make sure you use the opposite hand method. I'm not going to go over the entire thing right here. I'm going to pause this as I get set up, but I'm going to bring this part in. This is a part we have to have in order to create the assembly. So what we're going to do is just look at the plane for this. This one right here. I'm going to create a new plane. Actually, I like to use the plane from offset. If I just do plane from offset, and then 0. Okay, so then that creates the plane, and what we're looking at is that plane right there. So I'm just going to mirror it from that point. So mirror, pick your features. I'm holding down the control button as I select all of this. So I'm selecting all of those features, and then pick the mirror plane. That gives you your mirror point. Change it to solids, say remove original, and then hit OK, and then that part is now mirrored. The next thing I'm going to do is just right click on the mirror plane, just the mirror plane, and change the visibility on that, turn that off. Now I want to do a save as, and then at the end of, so this one was 14.1, so this is 1, and then do a OH, and in industry that's considered to be opposite hands. So I'm going to hit save there, and so I just had a little trouble saving that. When I did the save as, I just noticed I couldn't figure out how to get that the OH, it was giving me an error on the extension, and I had it set as all files. So if you run into this, just switch it to IPT file, and then it will save. So just ran into that problem and didn't realize that would do that, but oh well. Here we go. So I've got that part saved, mirrored, and then I want to make sure that I have all right, so that was the lever arm, so you need to do that with the rocker arm, so make sure you mirror that. And what I'm going to do now is start this assembly, and then also the sub-assemblies. Okay, so we're going to start the assembly. When we start the assembly, either you're going to need to go up into the new and go to the assembly drawing, and also I was looking down here for the home. I don't see it there, so just click on new. Make sure you go to English units, and we're going to be using a standard IAM file. If you're starting from the very beginning of this drawing, or from a new version of opening up Inventor, I'm trying to get there. You can click on the icon that's at the very beginning, so you can click on the new button. Also, there's usually a home down here. That's what I was looking for, and I'm not able to find that. I don't know why it's not on my screen anymore, but there's typically a home down there. You can click on that little home, the picture of, or the icon of the home, and then that will take you back to the original layout for Inventor. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring in my parts. So I'm going to make sure that I'm just clicking on place, because I'm going to be having to specify the file in which they're coming from. So I've made a folder here for student files, because I want to show you that all of these parts, I picked 3 or 4 parts, random parts, and they should all come together and they should match. If they don't match, then we've got problems. But I'm going to just start with, let's start with the, we'll start with this one. We'll start with bringing in both of these parts here. I'm going to bring one in at a time, and I'm going to drop it there. I'm going to probably go back into that part and turn off the work plane. So I'm going to go back to place and place the other one in here. So now I've got both of these pieces here. So the goal for this now, this is what's going to be called a sub-assembly, and we're going to assemble this part, and then we're going to bring it into our assembly as we get more of the components compiled in this right here. So we've got to have a little, by the time we're done, we'll have like a little threaded end, a couple nuts on that, a little stopper. So that's going to be something that we're going to work on. But first off, I'm just going to modify this part real quick. I can make a modification to the part by double clicking on it. So I want to right click on this and just change the visibility of that work plane. Make sure I pick on the right thing here. I don't see, there we go. So I'm going to turn that work plane off, and then hit return and double click on this one here, and I'm going to go to work plane, turn that work plane, no, that's not working. Which one is it? Wrong part. Right click on that and change the visibility, and then that way we don't have to look at both of those work planes. So what I'm going to be doing now is lining up center to centers. Okay, that's usually one of the first things I like to line up, especially when it's a feature like this. I'm going to be lining up the center points, and then I'm going to line up surface to surface. So I'm going to go to my constraint button, go into the center of this circle, line it up to the center of this one. Just looking for that center line to pop up, and then hit OK. And now I've got the two parts that just happen to move together. I'm going to line up the bottom one with the center to center. Center of that circle, center to this one. Okay, hit OK, and that lines them both up. Now, they should be lined up this way, and the next step we're going to do is line them up surface to surface. So I'm going to have the opportunity to put space in between here. So I'll show you that feature when we get there. So moving, looking at this one here. So this is mate and this is flush. So on this one right here, we're going to be looking to specify two surfaces, this inside surface here and then flipped over on the back side of this one. So I'm going to hit the first one here, then I have to turn my part around, and sometimes guys you have to really zoom in and move things around, so don't be afraid to just kind of look around at your part and make sure you have everything set up. So right now the offset is at 0. I'm going to leave it at 0 now. I'm just going to hit apply. Later on, when I want to change this, I can come back in here and make a change to that. So I would go to the last, the Mate 3, click on that, and I can specify a distance, and that distance will change. So that's just something you can do later on, and when we finally get the dimension that we need it. So I'm just going to leave it at 0 right now because I am going to be coming back to this part. So just click on home there, and we're going to leave that there. So I'm going to save this, and I'm just going to go back, and because this is an IAM file, I can go back and name it the same 14.1-2. So 14, I'm going to 14.1-2. Okay, so it is an IAM file now, so I'm just saving it as that. So that part is now ready for the assembly. So we're going to add this to the assembly where we're going to be placing the block, the clamp, and then we're going to be putting this piece on here and specifying that, coming back to this assembly and specifying it and open this part up. So this is the beginning of your assembly drawing.